The filming news for Game of Thrones Season 8 just keeps piling up, and it seems a little bit too good. I don't want to mention anything right now in this little intro because I don't want anyone who doesn't want to know anything about the filming aspect of Game of Thrones Season 8, I don't want them to get spoiled. So this is your official spoiler warning. Go ahead and click out of the video right now if you don't want to know anything about Game of Thrones Season 8. Those of us that do, well, you're in for a treat, partner. Because you guys are so awesome, I am in fact having a giveaway that ends on February 22nd where you can be entered to win a $50 Amazon gift card. All you have to do to enter this contest is slap a like on this video, make sure you're subscribed, go ahead and leave a comment down below, then turn your notifications on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. Also, go ahead and check out the gleam.io link down below to enter all the different bonus ways. It all started off with the other day we got several shots that were clear as day Jon Snow filming in what appeared to be King's Landing. A lot of people speculated on it being maybe White Harbor or perhaps even River Run, but this confirms as of late that this is King's Landing. Reason being is because now we see Cersei has entered the fray. And honestly, the way that these pictures are set up, it kind of looks like they're trying to fool us. They have both characters standing next to a window looking out to where it would appear with how clear these images are, the lens on this person's camera must be a mile long. There's no way that the actors and the people filming the actors do not see these people taking photos. This is why I mentioned I think this may all be a giant sham. But if it isn't, Jon Snow is apparently meeting with Cersei. Now, I predicted and theorized, like many other people on Reddit/FreeFolk, that Jon Snow in fact gets captured at this point, and this is him being walked to his cell. I theorized that the person walking with him in the images from the other day may in fact be one of Euron's Shade of the Evening drinking priests, but it appears that that might have been one of the people who Jon Snow went to her with. Now, I'm not completely reneging on my theory of Jon Snow getting captured, but I do think that this kind of changes the game just a little bit. If this is in fact not a sham and we're not all being bamboozled and trolled by Dan and Dave, then what appears to be happening is that Jon Snow and Cersei may actually be discussing something, maybe making an agreement, maybe coming to terms with the fact that the war with the Night King may in fact be over and Cersei has a massive army and is still in power in King's Landing. Now, the likelihood of that is it just doesn't make sense, which all goes back to why I think this may be a giant prank. I honestly do think that at some point, yes, Kit Harington and Emilia Clarke will be returning to King's Landing. Now, whether that's to completely wipe Cersei off the face of the map, or whether that's because Cersei is holding Jon Snow prisoner, I don't exactly know. But I don't think that this scene, filmed right next to this window, actually happens. There's just no way. Maybe they're filming them in full regalia, which, by the way, shout out to the costume department because Cersei is looking flawless as ever. I just don't really know what's going on from this information, which I mentioned before in my video, which you can click right here if you did not catch that. But at the very end of that video, I discussed the fact that Jon Snow had just been seen filming in what could possibly be King's Landing. The news that Cersei was on set did not happen until today, so then we're updated with that. But like I said, I don't really know what to do with this information until you wait a couple hours and then more filming news comes out. The newest filming news, as of the time of me recording this video, this was just a few hours ago, but apparently there was sources confirming from wikiofthrone.com, which is linked down below in the description. You can go and check it out. Also, the other updates that I just mentioned with Jon Snow and Cersei filming outside, those are from Watchers on the Wall and Winter is Coming. All of that is linked down below, so if you want to go read these articles for yourself, you can go and click that link and that'll take you straight to that article. But the latest news comes from Wiki of Thrones, and they have claimed that one of their sources has informed them that there is a scene filmed at Winterfell, which, if you'll remember, was just recently being burned, but there's apparently a scene where Sandor the Hound Clegane and the Unsullied are fighting against each other. Now, according to the source, it had confirmed that it was both characters. And at this moment, we don't have any pictures of them actually filming. And this could be chalked up to Dan and Dave yet again, just screwing with their heads. And we're all being trolled here, which honestly, we deserve it because we kind of ruin and spoil every season. Spoiling it with spoilers, which reminds me, you guys let me know down below what you think. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you could probably care less about the spoilers, but still, how does that make you feel internally? Like, are you conflicted? Do you feel guilty about watching these kinds of videos? I honestly feel guilty about making them. The reason why I do is because I'm a loon job when it comes to Game of Thrones, and I can't really help myself, but you guys are watching them, so you know, you're just as bad as I am. But yeah, let me know, how does it make you feel on the inside down below in the comment section. But anyway, like I said, there are no actual pictures of the Unsullied and the Hound fighting. What a lot of people tend to be speculating on Reddit/FeeFolk and on the comments on the Wiki of Thrones article, a lot of people tend to think that they could actually be full on, for no other reason, straight up attacking the Hound. Now, we do know that the Unsullied are loyal to Daenerys, and the Hound isn't exactly 100% loyal to anyone, but we can safely say that he is on Jon Snow's side in this whole war. So a lot of people are speculating that the Hound, for some reason, has just claimed his loyalty to Jon Snow, and that these Unsullied troops are attacking him because maybe at some point Jon and Daenerys are feuding. I don't necessarily know that that's going to happen. If this is what Dan and Dave had planned us thinking, if that's the line of thought that we were going to take this down by having, this scene filmed outside, that's not the direction my mind goes. Because there are no photos, I can't actually confirm this, but I believe, along with a few others, that they may actually be wearing green suits underneath these Unsullied armor. Now, if you remember what the Unsullied armor looked like in Season 7, they are full-on protected. They're ready for winter, and they know that winter is coming, so they're almost covered from top to bottom in some sort of light armor like they wear. Now, their chest piece is mainly leather, but my point is if this were a few seasons ago, and they were attacking Jon Snow and, Sandor Clegane and people that were loyal to him, their armor was a lot more stripped down. There was more exposed. So if there was blood and flesh wounds, you would be able to see the green screen cloth right away, because obviously their arms, which are exposed mostly in this older Unsullied armor, you would be able to see that green cloth exposed. But the fact that they're wearing these new head-to-toe armors, if they were recently killed and turned over by the Night King in the Whites, it would not be so obvious to see the green screen. So maybe much of the rendering of the wounds in the CG that's added later on can be done so without the use of this Green Man suit. Okay, so let's get somewhere with this. If we were to completely remove the troll element from this and just take all these scenes for what they are, and that's that they're filming outside, so the Game of Thrones showrunners and directors can't help the fact that there are people that are leaking this information. If we were to take it just like that, connecting all the dots, what appeared would be happening is that Jon and Daenerys did go to White Harbor. They quickly find out that Winterfell is under attack by the Night King, which is why it was on fire, and these blue flames will in fact be rendered blue later on in the post-production process. Then that would in fact mean that these so-called Unsullied that are attacking the Hound are doing so under command of the Night King or a White Walker. And if that were the case, then it totally makes sense of why he's fighting back and trying to save himself. Like I said, that can be completely determined if there's a second day of filming and we get someone out there with a camera. Now, before I continue on with the next part of the connecting the dots, we do have to remember that certain directors are outside when certain things happen. So if this were the case, when we first found out about Jon and later on Cersei filming in Croatia, Dubrovnik rather, which stands in for King's Landing. Once we found out about that, we knew that that was going to be taking place in episode 4 because it was David Nutter. We knew it's not going to be early on in the season, and he's set to also direct episode 4 as well as an earlier episode in the season. So if that's the case, that would mean that these scenes with Jon and Cersei would happen after Winterfell is attacked by the Night King, and the Night King pretty much causes a giant kingdom in chaos, if you will, which would totally make sense as to why Jon Snow would do something as desperate. And it kind of makes sense that Kit Harington was seen filming by himself and Emilia Clarke wasn't exactly there, because we do know that if Kit were to go, or Jon Snow rather, goes on these missions to make amends or try to connect with another leader, he does so solo. He did this way back in Season 4, Episode 10. Jon Snow actually met with Mance Rayder, who had a massive wildly army outside of Castle Black. He met with him alone and solo. So it's not completely out of question for Jon Snow, and it's totally in character with him, to go and meet with Cersei down in King's Landing, who is ultimately an enemy. He wouldn't want to risk the pregnant Daenerys to come with him, so it totally makes sense as to why he would go by himself. But he goes down there and tries to talk some sort of deal with Cersei because Winterfell is just destroyed, and he has to somehow collect his kingdom in chaos, put it back together. And I'm pretty sure that anyone who was at Winterfell, i.e. Sansa, Arya, and Bran, and all of those other characters, they are scattered throughout, and Jon Snow has to spend maybe the first 1, 2, and episode 3 trying to get all of them back together, and then he goes on a solo mission. Maybe he has them held up at Dragonstone, and he knows that it would be a better defense location to be more at King's Landing. Maybe he tries to go there and talk some sort of deal with Cersei. If this were the case, I'm pretty sure Jon Snow would not take very many troops with him, and Cersei would of course seize this opportunity. Maybe she somehow finds out from Qyburn's little birds that Jon Snow is the rightful heir to the throne, and maybe she seizes this opportunity to take him captive. So if you'll notice, or remember rather, back in season 7, Cersei got 2 new hostages. So this makes 3 total. It's almost like she's getting revenge on everyone for the fact that she was in fact prisoned and jailed back in season 6, and now this is her favorite form of punishment. So Jon Snow could be one of her newest captives. If this is the moment where Cersei captures Jon Snow, then it would be kind of scenic, and they would need to film outside. I don't know why they would film right next to this window, so that's what makes me sketchy about this whole thing. And like I said, we kind of have to take this with a grain of salt, because yes, we do have a lot of these pictures, but how is it possible that they don't go out and stop the person from taking the picture? I don't really know how this works, and I guess I could probably do a bit more research into this subject matter, but it's amazing to me that these were captured. Anyway, if this were the case, we needed a very scenic location to film the scene where Jon Snow is captured by Cersei, because if this does actually go down and Cersei does capture Jon, then filming outdoors would just add to the intensity of it, because you have this great backdrop and then this gut-wrenching moment of Cersei flexing her powers, so to speak, and capturing Jon Snow, making him a captive and holding him under the Red Keep. We do know that history is a very common theme throughout Game of Thrones, and if you remember, Ned Stark was held in the same place way back in season 1. Here's a few of my thoughts on some of the other pictures we were given from that filming in Dubrovnik. Now, if you'll notice, there's literally a shot of what appears to be David Benioff and David Nutter literally looking directly out at the person who's potentially taking these shots that are leaking the final season of Game of Thrones. And then there's also this other shot of Lena Headey looking directly out at the camera as well. So it's just, I don't know, it's all too much, and I honestly think that a few of these photos kind of just are too good to be true. There's also another shot of the Mountain, aka Sir Robert Strong, in his what appears to be poop smeared on his face, but this is the under makeup. When we see the part of his face, or flesh rather, that's exposed through his helmet, it's decayed and rotten, so this is why he's wearing that. But this is to be expected, because Cersei does not go anywhere without her companions. There's just too many questionable shots, and it almost just seems too good to be true. This could be taken a different way, and maybe this is the way that, if this all was a troll, maybe this was the way that we were meant to take it, but it's just too silly. Some people think that the reason why Winterfell was burning, and now the Unsullied attacking Sandor Clegane, why that's happening is because Daenerys finds out of Jon Snow's true lineage, and this makes her want to get rid of him, basically because he would have a stronger claim to the throne than she does, arguably a stronger claim than she does. I don't really know about that. I think it's complete bogus nonsense. I honestly believe that the scene with Winterfell and how it appears to be on fire, I think that that may have the only validity in all of these scenes. Now, obviously, they're filmed outdoors, and parts of the other scene may be filmed outdoors later, so now we kind of just have to play the waiting game. If we continue to get shots of these same locations with these similar characters, we do know that this is confirmed, and that this is actually going to be happening in Game of Thrones Season 8, because they would not keep wasting time, money, and budget on silly stuff like filming fake scenes just to throw off people who make videos about the spoilers. There's no way that they would continue to do that. But only time will tell, so like I said, we have to play the waiting game. Just to reiterate, the only scene as of yet of this past week of spoilers that I give some validity to is the fact that Winterfell is burning. Now, what came out later after the initial news broke that the Winterfell set that they appeared to, or that they have been known to film all the Winterfell scenes at, besides the fact that it was set on fire, we've recently found out that the flames actually appear to be outside of Winterfell. So if this is the case, Winterfell could be under attack by some of the undead, which you would have the Hound being attacked by some of the Unsullied, completely making sense because the Night King is there attacking Winterfell. But then parts of the outside of Winterfell could be burning because Daenerys is using her dragons to defend the castle. Now, if the Night King was smart, he wouldn't fly straight down there himself with all of his army. He would maybe send groups of his army to strategically take out certain forts and strongholds and castles in the north, and then just gradually make his way down south and meet up somewhere in the middle. I don't know if he has that much intelligence, and the intelligence of the White Walkers is something that is yet to be determined, but I think it will be interesting nonetheless. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video, the like goal will be 424. Also, if you'd like to be entered into my contest to win this $50 Amazon gift card, all you have to do is slap a like on this, make sure you leave a comment, go ahead and subscribe, turn your notifications on, then check the gleam.io link down below and go and enter all those different bonus ways. Super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over at patreon.com Betrayal.com, especially to Terry and Mario. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Review.